Uh, Good evening. My name is Arthur Gasparo, Nantucket Airport Commission Chairman. Welcome to the September 13th, 2022 Airport Commission meeting. This open meeting is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. This preliminary matter permit me to confirm all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ms. Topham?
Here.
Ms. Planzer?
Here.
Mr. Marks?
Here.
And I don't see Mr. Buscarin on our participant list. I'll make note if I see him join. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mr. Rafter?
Here.
Mr. Carberg?
Here.
Ms. Perales?
Here.
Ms. Stoikova Nelson?
I apologize. She is not coming tonight.
Okay, no problem. And I don't see Jamie on the participant list either. Anticipated speakers on the agenda. Please respond in the affirmative. Ms. Nugent?
Here.
And Mr. Lasden?
Here.
Thank you. For this meeting, we're convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. The meeting will be aired at a later time on the Town of Nantucket YouTube channel. Please note this meeting is being recorded. All attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. Take care enough to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that are provided members of this body are available on town's website unless otherwise noted. Public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I'll go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait till I yield the floor to you. State your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversations with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment after members have spoken, I will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full name for Zoom access. If full names are not used, people will not be allowed to participate in discussion. The commission reserves the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who doesn't use a full name or acts inappropriately. Finally, each vote in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And with that, we'll move to the first item on the agenda. As noted, the meeting is being audio and video recorded. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns with the agenda as published? Hearing none, we'll adopt that by unanimous consent. We have the minutes from August 9th and August 26th for review and approval. Are there any comments on either of the sets of minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
So moved.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
I'll vote aye, but I was not at the H9 meeting, but I can vote aye.
Okay, Ms. Blanzer?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. We have the August 17th and September 7th warrants for ratification. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding those two warrants? Hearing none, is there a motion to ratify the two warrants?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. That'll bring us to public comment. Is there any public comment for items not otherwise on the agenda? I don't see any members of the public in the participant list. We'll give it a minute. Hearing none, we'll move on to pending leases and contracts as set forth on Exhibit 1. Mr. Rafter.
Thank you. We have quite a list tonight, but the first is a lease amendment with American Airlines for $2,310. That's the extension of a agreement out in the bunker area for storage. Next is a lease amendment with the FAA for a lump sum payment and settlement of a net difference in rent. And then we have a lease agreement with Nantucket Marine for $37,026. That's for the parcel that we put the RFP out previously. We have an airline lease agreement. It's a business fee for Unify Aviation to extend that out through the end of March of 23. We then have a contract for purchase of 2 golf carts with Country Club Enterprises for $32,970. Next is a contract with McFarland Johnson for $820,400 for the master plan. We then have another contract with McFarland for $33,500 for professional services for the design charrette for the terminal optimization program. Another contract with McFarland for $12,200 to review the environmental permit implications for 2 parcels out in the bunker area that we're going to be issuing another RFP on. Next is a $289,377 contract with McFarland for PFAS Phase 2. Another contract with McFarland, $5,700. That's the annual botanical monitoring that is provided. We have a contract with Gems Tech, and I'm sorry, the previous one was a contract amendment. Gems Tech for $47,633.64 over 3 years. That's our point of sale software for the FBO X1. Have a contract with Aero Specialties for the purchase of a lav cart and a GPU for $55,828.15. And a note there, the GPU is an 8-month lead time. Next, we have a contract with MHQ for $72,217.24. This was updated recently to add the price of the radios that are included. This is a replacement of Airport 11, which is the primary operations vehicle, and there's a 10-month lead time on that. And we have the last one is McGovern Municipal Headquarters for $52,375. That is for a what's known as a Firefly. It's an electric vehicle for the parking enforcement program that we have. And that concludes the list. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rafter. Are there any questions on any of the contracts? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the pending leases, contracts, and agreements set forth on Exhibit 1 reviewed by Mr. Rafter?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
second,
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
aye.
Mr. Marks?
aye,
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Pending matters, I'll turn it over to Mr. Rafter.
There's no change on the home rule petition capital approval process. We haven't heard anything back from the senator's office. And I'll turn it over to Noah for the PFAS update.
Mr. Carberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Tom. So for my update, there is an activity report in your packet. We are at 534 samples taken from 79 individual wells. We have added an additional residence to our sampling program. This is a home where we've been trying to arrange access for quite some time. We've just recently received written permission. So we will be adding this home into our sampling list. Regardless of the results, this will not result in any additional step outs. This home is already bounded by other homes that have been sampled. As far as current work, task order and phase 2 status, our amendment number 2, that work is closing out. The Ira Status Report has been submitted. I'll review it further below. Sampling has been completed. The synoptic well measurements were not part of this IRA, but will be available later this fall and promulgated through the next IRA report or interim commission report, whichever comes first. And then for administrative items, the downgrading property status and potentially productive aquifer exclusion filings will be submitted later this fall for review process and posting similar to the IRA updates. And thank you for your review and approval of the next task order for the upcoming fall sampling. I'm going to share my screen for one figure on the status report. Okay, thank you. So the IRA status report number 12, the immediate response action report, was submitted about a week ago to the DEP website. It covers the reporting period from January 1st of 2022 through June 30th. That's why you might not see some of the most recent work in it. It cites the successful conclusion of the airport public water system expansion, both the water services and the water main project. And it details sampling that has occurred to our existing residences in the program and work with the POET systems that have since been removed now that the homes have been connected. It discusses one home that we're monitoring on Matacasham Valley Road that was historically at 18-19 parts per trillion. In a recent sampling over this time period, it exceeded 20 parts per trillion, was already receiving bottled water. The timing coincided with other work we were doing with homes on MVR, so we were able to fairly quickly connect it to town water while the contractor was mobilized. One of these sampling results was also for a resident who had put their own well, and we tested the well now that it had been into use and drawing water. It was also below 20 parts per trillion. I mentioned the 18 POET removals. Those are now complete, and we're working on closing out that part of the project, which is just landfilling through a hazardous waste landfill, the remaining POET media. Soil sampling occurred related to the Taxiway Golf project. This was work we did in advance of the project to understand what requirements, if any, would need to be in place for the soil disturbed as part of that project. The results came back that the soil does not exceed the S3 soil standards, so no further work is needed. The IRA report details the fuel farm GAC system evaluation. What occurs for the fuel farm GAC system is that the sample of the effluent is evaluated quarterly. On one of the quarterly reports detailed in the IRA update, Weston found breakthrough of one non-regulated compound. So they wanted to do some investigation work related to the filter. They found that there was a throttle that needed to be installed into some portion of the pump to increase the contact time with the media in the vessel. So they made that change, resampled, and the pump and the GAC system are all working accordingly. Weston downloaded transducers installed in wells that they had drilled. This was in the February timeframe. No pumping was observed from neighboring homes. That means there's no impact observed of homes pumping groundwater from under the airport to the west of the western neighborhood. And there's a fairly lengthy discussion on soil and groundwater sampling. The two major points that I pull from that are that the conceptual site model, what the LSP has promoted for the last year, 18 months regarding our overall study, is still valid. All of the data is pointing towards the same conclusions and making the conceptual site model stronger. And the LSP cites several times in the document that groundwater impacts west of the airport appear related to a source above Old South Road, although the leasehold property cannot be entirely ruled out. And so this is the plume area that I believe they reference through that item. Moving on to updates for the water service project and the water main project. We're at the punch list for both phases. We need to have a water meter cover reset in the driveway for a homeowner on Matacasham Valley Road. And we need to have our contractor patch the water main cut across Monahenseth Drive. I think it's a cold patch or concrete patch, and we need to do a full depth asphalt patch for that area. If it's all right with the commission, I would like to just pull these off of the list since these are relatively minor items, but at your discretion, I can keep the reporting current if you would like. For Skyline Drive work, the paving that is being done has been done by the town that we've helped coordinate with. I understand That project is substantially complete. The last item is seeding, which will be done at the end of this month or the first week of October. And I don't have any public communication issues current. I'm happy to take your questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Carberg? Well, that all sounds good to me as well. Okay, Mr. Rafter.
Next on the agenda, we have a declaration of surplus property 66 and 60 Bunker Road. This is for a parcel behind Atlantic Landscaping and another adjacent to Tidal Creeks. This is required before we can issue the RFP for this property. We also anticipate bringing back another declaration of surplus property to the commission for 2 additional parcels in the Bunker Road area that are adjacent to, one adjacent to Island Barge and one to Toscana. And then we'll be issuing those 2 RFPs simultaneously. So we need your approval for the declaration of surplus property for these 2 parcels.
Thank you. Is there a motion to, is there any questions first regarding the declaration? And if not, is there a motion to declare number 60 and number 66 Bunker Road as surplus property?
I'll make
So
that
moved.
motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, so motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Toppel.
Except one,
Oh,
just
go
one
ahead,
question.
Mr. Marks.
Sorry.
No
What's
problem.
that orange line there along the side there? What's that representative of on the 2 properties? You see that there on the eastern, southeast side there?
I don't have that in front of me.
If I may, I have that answer. That orange line is an area of rare plants that we need to take away from the leasehold and protect into perpetuity. So it's not
right.
land.
And it won't be part of the lease then?
It will not be part of the lease.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Any further questions?
I do have a comment.
Go ahead, Mrs. Topham.
Someone who goes out there, I haven't been out there to see, but they're saying that people are dropping their boats off or trucks or things on our property, and they're not paying anything for it. So I don't know if we have anybody that investigates that or not.
We have, I'm sorry if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
We have a lease compliance inspection program, and Preston Harriman is doing that. He's trying to rectify a couple of different areas because we have noticed some people dropping things off, and we've got the pictures and we've put them on notice of the violation of the lease and those type of things too. So we're trying to work with them to rectify it, and if they need additional land, we'll be putting out public requests accordingly. But yes, we do have a program, and that's in force, and that's what Preston's working on right now.
Thank you.
Any further questions? I'm hearing none. Is there a motion to, I think we had a motion in a second. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. That'll move us on to ratification of the FAA grant awards. Mr. Rafter.
We received 2 grants from FAA. AIP 80 is for the airport master plan, the amount of $745,560. And AIP 81 is the taxiway golf shift for sign and marking for $6,125,474. And we just need the commission to ratify that because they've been approved.
Are there any questions and or a motion to ratify AP number 80 for the master plan?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mr. Rafter, You want
Next,
to take the other one?
yeah, next we have the approval of the union contract.
Oh, I'm sorry if I could, Mr. Rafter. I didn't realize you had those together. So I think we should
Oh.
probably do another motion to ratify AIP 81.
I'm sorry.
I should have probably put them together. I separated them. Is there a motion to ratify the grant for AIP 81?
So moved.
So,
Mr. Rafter's question or something that I heard and I didn't understand it about this. The contracts or something? Is that what?
Well,
it
that'd be
was?
one second, Ms. Topham. We're just going to get through the grants. When I suggested a motion, I had only listed AIP 80. So I want to make sure that we get
Okay, all right, thank
of
you.
them ratified. So we have a motion and a second to ratify AIP 81. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye,
Ms. Planzer,
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
aye,
And chair votes aye. And now Mr. Rafter on to the approval of the union
oh,
contract.
I see now where we were.
So the union has approved the contract. There was one minor change requested, and that was the addition of Juneteenth because it has become a recognized holiday by the town. And council has advised that although normally we would want the union to have it fully executed and then present to the commission, he said, with the documents he has, emails and such, it's, it is approved by the union. He will get the paperwork to us, but he would suggest that if the commission could approve it, that would expedite things.
Thank you.
We're almost ready to begin negotiating a new contract.
Does anybody have any questions regarding the union contract?
No,
Is there a motion to approve the union contract?
so moved,
Is there a second?
second,
The motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
aye,
Ms. Planzer,
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
aye,
The chair votes aye. And now we'll move us on to the manager's report.
Thank you. On the project side of the house, the crew quarters / housing project, there's a meeting set for Monday with the architect to begin the scoping of that project. The Hangador Aviation Hangar is just about complete. We will be meeting with them to tie up some final loose ends and items with regard to signage and lighting. The terminal optimization project, Noah's coordinating stakeholder meetings with that. There's been a slight delay just because of holidays and people's schedules. The HVAC project is well underway and is estimated to be completed by the end of this month. Taxiway Golf, I appreciate approving that grant. Finally got that. And we also got the master plan grant, and there's work continue on that actually. The non-standard geometry work also continues on that. And another note, we have our CIP meeting with the FAA on September 19th. We also have our meeting with the Capcom on September 29th to present our capital projects. On the RFP and bids, the IFB for the maintenance contract for security systems, we received 3 proposals. They're currently under review. Both the terminal and housing OPM projects, we're getting closer to defining exactly what they are so that the OPM can submit their price proposals. And Sun Island Road, we received that one proposal that you awarded earlier to the Nantucket Marine. On the operations side of the house, on August 20th, NOAA addressed the Quidnet Briar Patch Annual Homeowner Association meeting to discuss aircraft noise and noise abatement. He also met on August 29th with the Surfside resident and pilot, Mr. Paul Hines, to update outreach efforts with the Surfside Homeowner Association. On August 24th, we had a visit from Jeff DiCarlo, the administrator for the State Division of Aeronautics. We provided him a tour to show him the projects that they had funded in the past. We also discussed various opportunities to play a role in the electric transportation efforts, both for aircraft and vehicles, and subsequently they've reached out to us. We'll be having a meeting with them next week. They're looking at submitting a grant for a smart grid application, which there's a number of dollars coming out of the federal government with this. And it's for two different types, implementation and, I'm sorry, study and implementation. Again, for both electric vehicles and electric vertical and takeoff. They think we may be a good candidate airport for a test for that. I did test drive the Firefly electric vehicle that we have on order and you approved earlier. It's a pretty neat thing. Should be a great asset to us. We have Mike Gullion Aviation, who is based in Plymouth, has a large group of European pilots visiting in mid-October, and they're going to be taking them on an East Coast tour that's sponsored by Bose and Cirrus. And there'll be 9 aircraft Cirrus arriving on October 13th, and Skylar's coordinating their activities. Labor Day sales were up 17% over last year, driven primarily by the price of fuel. However, the total gallons sold were down 5%. And our fuel supply, again, kudos to NOAA, Preston, World Fuel, Steamship, everybody communicating well throughout the summer. We made it through the summer. We have plenty of fuel, and we may even be giving up one to reservation shortly. So great job there. Any questions before I move on to statistics?
I have a comment, Mr. Rafter. I'm on the Commission on Disability, as you probably know. Do our rentals have to have be compliance with the ADA? Do you know? Because
Our
you know,
car rentals?
what we're talking about for the rentals, I think you were talking about your building or whatever. So never mind, forget it. I'll find out later.
If it's a building, they will have to comply with ADA.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
The roundabout.
Brief summary on the statistics. The July operations were down 7.8%. However, employments were up 5.6%, indicating higher load factors. And just a little footnote, fiscal year 22, we sold 2.1 million gallons of jet fuel versus 1.6 in FY21. Andrea, I reported a number incorrectly to you earlier. 21 was 1.6 million. And that 1.6 was a record. We typically would pump in a fiscal year 1.2 million gallons. So we're selling a lot of fuel. In the Boston market, although Cape Air saw a 10% increase, JetBlue was down 14% for a net decrease in the market of 4%. Charlotte was down 64%, but maintained a load factor of 78%. Washington National, both JetBlue and American saw increases with a total market increase of 53%. New Bedford was down 46%. Newark was up 32%. White Plains, JetBlue up 53%. Dulles was down 76%. JFK with Delta and JetBlue was up 11%. LaGuardia, Delta was up 68%. Philadelphia was down slightly at 3%. Providence was up at 38%. Again, Southern starting to build that market pretty strongly. Chicago, American was up 9%. And overall, the Hyannis market took a significant hit, was down 67% or 938 passengers. On fuel sales for July, the sales were down 2.5 over last July, but for August, we're up 12.4%. In the avgas, was down 30.1% for July and down 32.8% for August. Freight continued to decline, and that was down 32.8% over last July. And noise complaints were up slightly from 33 to 39 this year. The other, I have one other note on the personnel side, a couple notes actually. We received a resignation from maintenance department employee, but we also received a resignation from Katie, our office manager, who will be taking a position elsewhere in the town. So we're going to miss her greatly. And you can see by the list above of all the contracts and things, the level of work that has to go into that. So it's going to be big shoes to fill, but we wish her well and thank you for everything you've done for us, Katie.
Yes, thank you, Katie. Good
Thank
luck.
you, Katie.
And thanks, Katie.
Well,
Are there
thank
any-
you all, and I just would like to say that you're a very professional board. And I've really enjoyed working for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For different ones.
with that, are there any questions or comments regarding Mr. Rafter's report?
No.
Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Rafter. We'll move on to, I would just echo, I guess I would just have a quick comment on the, again, reiterating his thanks on the fuel. I had sort of been following along pretty closely with that. And, especially, I think there was lessons learned from last year and the communication and just, it's certainly a situation where it's dynamic and not everything. I saw that everyone did their best to predict what would happen and what would be needed, but the cliches of best laid plans and getting items that are out of our control occasionally with respect to mechanical items or weather and Nantucket factors. And I'm certainly pleased with how it was handled this year and went, and just would reiterate that. Thank you. And with that, I would move on to commissioners' comments. If anybody has anything not otherwise on the agenda. Hearing none, public comment. I don't see any members of the public. And with that, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session per general law, chapter 30A, section 21A, to review the executive session minutes enumerated on the agenda for possible release, the minutes of 7/12 and 8/9 for review and possible release, which were pending. And then to clause 2, conduct strategy sessions in preparation for contract negotiations with non-union personnel, including the airport manager, not to return to open session. Is there such a motion?
I'll make
So
that
moved.
motion. Second.
Second. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you all. You can stop the recording if you would, please, Katie.